Let's test it. 3, 2, 1. Oh my God, I can't believe it works. I can't believe it works. What the hell? Hey y'all, Guy Level here. I'm not feeling too well today, so today's video is gonna be me messing around with OBS and try to do something creative with it. Especially since now we have this new 3D plugin that I made a video on. The possibilities are endless, as I love to say every single time. So there's a lot of cool stuff to be done with it. So the idea I had was to recreate one of my recent drops, which is this similar but legally distinguishable iPod player for Nutty's music player. So your music player widget, you can turn it into a square and then put it on the screen, and then this is what it looks like. But now that we have a 3D plugin inside of OBS, do we need that video that I rendered in the 3D software, right? Can we make this directly into OBS Studio? Of course. The big thing, what makes this whole thing look good is the texture, the reflections, right? Can we maybe achieve something similar in OBS? Probably not, but that's not going to stop us from trying. So let's get to trying. All right, so here we are in OBS Studio. What I'm going to do is create a new scene. We'll call it OBS iPod. And then we need to create something that is kind of similar to an iPod. But first, I'm going to add my MP3 player. And what I'm going to do, since I already have it, is I'm going to copy the code. This part is like, go to Nutty's website. I will try to remember to link it in the description, but you should probably watch my other video on the whole music player thing. But yeah, on Nutty's website, you can find that music player, and then you can add my code, my custom CSS in OBS to make it a square, basically to change the format. We're gonna add a new browser source, call it Square Music Player, paste the code, and then take a good look at it. Oh yeah, I probably need some music playing. All right, there we have it. So this is like the default music player if you get it from Nutty's website. This is what it's gonna look like. Let me add a background to this just to keep you guys distracted. Does that look cool? So with my code from the other video, which I'm gonna get from this player, this is what you're gonna get. So I'm just gonna Control A to copy all of the code. Again, you can get that code from the other video. Double click here, select all of that, and Control V. I Control A to select everything, Control C to copy everything, Control V to paste. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to crop this. I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard and move the handles to crop this. That's how you crop in OBS Studio. And boom, just like that, I have a square-ish, rectangle-ish music player. Now, what if I wanted to create the body of my music player, of my MP3 player? I would probably go to color source. I'm probably not going to keep this, so I'm going to name this delete_mp3 body. Pick the color blue because that's what people like to see. Bring it underneath my music player. I'm gonna place it like this. Double click on it to actually make the size. I could easily stretch and crop this to make it the right size. It doesn't really matter, but I like to keep it clean like that. Let's try 1000. It actually looks decent. It's perfect. What the hell? Okay, cool. Let's add another color source. I'm gonna call this one MP3 circle, and it'll be kind of like my menu button. I kind of want this to be a square, so we're gonna do 1080 by 1080. We're gonna make sure that it's pure white, because by default it's grayish. Nice. And then I'm gonna go to filters, and I'm gonna use the advanced mask plugin to add a filter. I'm gonna go to circle, set my shape to circle. You should know this by now, but just in case, just in case. Yeah, I think radius can be bigger until we almost hit the limits, something like that. Okay, that's cool. Now we're gonna add another advanced mask so we can cut out the middle part and create a donut. So click OK. Shape, you want a circle, nice, and you want to invert the mask right here. And that's how you make a donut. All right, now we want it to be kind of thick, something like that. And if you really want to, you can actually put the the play button and all that. You can import that as whatever you want, really. You can go find like PNG images of those and then import them, but I'm not necessarily gonna do this. Something else here is that I wonder if I need to add some shading, maybe a little bit, not completely sure. What I'm gonna do is, I know there's kind of a bevel, and I want the MP3 player to be kind of a rounded rectangle shape instead of just straight like that. So I'm gonna select it, MP3 player, and I'm gonna go to advanced mask again. We're gonna use that a lot. So I'm actually gonna uncrop this because we can just use the mask, and also the filters don't affect cropped sources, if that makes sense. If I want something uniform, I need to do all of the cropping directly in here. And it's not a big deal because we can set the height and the width. Oops, is that the right thing? It is. Okay, cool. So I can do this, hover over the numbers and scroll to be precise. And I'm going to do that, which will allow me to also put corner radius like that. There we go. This has a little bit of transparency, but it's not a huge deal. The MP3 player that is. All right, so far so good. So if I want a little bit of shading, I feel like I could probably use the stroke glow shadow plugin to add some filters to my donut. Let me go ahead and add a brand new, or shadow. Shadow would make more sense because we do want it to have a certain direction. Yeah, something like that. Make it really soft. And then we're going to add a second shadow filter on the outside to make it look, I guess, like a bevel. Right? Just a little more three-dimensional. It looks like an outer bevel though. So I did not do a good job. But as long as it looks like a bevel. Now all I have to do is basically group all of that. So hold shift, select everything here, right click, group selected items. And I'm gonna call this one delete ipod. Then just based off of that, you can see that I didn't make a full. I could make a full one, but whatever. Let's make a full one, I guess. Something like that. And now we're going to go into our filters and we can add the 3D effect directly from that script, or we can add it through the user defined shader, aka the shader filter plugin. So what we're going to do is basically go back to our group and yeah, we can't use the shader filter. We can use the 3D panel plugin directly from the script, which is interesting to know. Look at that. Look at that. You can make it very thick, like a very thick iPod. I think that's pretty sweet. It adds some sort of inner glow, I would say, around the corners to kind of simulate some sort of bevel, but it's not real. I think it's still super sharp. It would be cool if that was an option to actually have proper bevel, but I don't think that's possible. Anyways, we can make it wiggle. And this is pretty much our completed iPod made entirely in OBS Studio. All right, so technically this is where the video should end, where I should be like, okay, this is it. We did it. Congrats. Let's go. I'm going to try to reset everything, all of the tilt. But no, there's something that I want. And the something that I want is for some sort of reflection to go across all of this. Right? Of course, the reflection will have to be keyframed. So let's make that happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the body. Oh yeah, and by the way, we can change the color. You know, it can be whatever color you want. I should be changing the color again for that attention span to get y'all to be invested during the whole video. So I'm going to right click, copy on the body, right click, paste, duplicate. So it creates a different one. All we need to do is basically scale it up to match. We just need it to conform. And we can change the color on that one because it doesn't really matter, like that. And let's bring it. There you go. In fact, it doesn't have to be the exact size. It's okay if it's a little smaller, but like barely though. Okay, cool. Now, technically we want this to be white and we want to add, you guessed it, an advanced mask to it. And the way we're going to drive this reflection is through the whole advanced mask thing. So what we need is a long rectangle, right? This, perhaps you can select the width of your thing. You make this like that. You want the height to be more than what you can see. And then we're gonna, where's the rotation? There it is. Something like that. All right. And it's that simple. So that's how you do it. Center Y is what you're going to want to animate. Of course, if you want this to be more realistic, you would add some distortion, which is something you can do with the Shader-tastic plugin, for example. If there's feathering, you go to feathering here, middle, I would say, something like that. And then you can play with the blending mode, although there isn't overlay, so I don't know how much that's going to work. With a blending mode, maybe screen. Yeah, it doesn't really change much. You would definitely want to lower the opacity, maybe with a color correction filter, or directly in your set color. You can go to alpha channel here and lower the opacity. So we can do 120. Now you have that type of reflection. Isn't that cool?
2 hours later.
Okay, so little issue here. I paused the recording at some point at like 30 minutes in, and I don't remember when exactly I paused. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the progress that I didn't record. And I'm going to explain how they work. I'm so upset right now. This is the highlight. I managed to put it using 2 advanced masks. So one to do that rounded rectangle that you see, basically to round it up. Let me turn that off, for example. So this is it. And then I added this one, where all I had to do is basically make it super thin, rotate it, and then it created that, right? And then if I move the position, it basically moves across it without going outside the boundaries of that group, okay? So I created this. The goal is to animate this while this rotates. I use move value, which is from the move plugin, to animate the position of this. I showed you like my regular MP3 thing. If you go to my stream, for example, and you type song while a song is playing, this is what we created. Well, by we, I mean I did. But that's like a video from a 3D software, right? So back to my group in the 3D panel filter, I have this as my middle position. You'll see it here. And I have this as my start position. And it's just rotated and going down, right? So unrotated, boom, this is what it would look like. And again, that's the move value. Can I make this take longer? Maybe 3 seconds? Yeah, let's do that. Just so we can really, really savor the fact that we're doing this in OBS Studio alone. Oh, yes. Yes, look at that. So good. Anyways, so that's what I did. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to add move values to that highlight to also animate it while it's moving, basically. So what I did is add my move value, select the advanced mask as the filter and single setting, and that setting is the center X. And since it is at the position, well, not anymore, let me click real quick. There we go. Right here is the final position that I want. I can now duplicate it and call this one position start. Now I can go to the mask. I can manually bring it up until, but it doesn't matter because technically like the whole thing is not going to be visible at this point, but I can set it here, for example, go back to my position start and then click get value. Boom. And now I have a very fast highlight going across. All right, let's set the custom duration to 3000. There you go. Set the custom duration to everything. If I click position start. Okay, not bad, right? Now the question is, how do we trigger all of that? Obviously, if you want it to be triggered by a command, you would use something like StreamerBot and basically tell it, hey, when someone types blah, 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 turn on a filter. But it wouldn't make sense if you have to type every filter. How do we connect every filter together? So let's go back to our group's 3D panel. How do I make it so that it's a little bit automated? The first thing I would do is probably put it in the start position. And I would say that mid position would be like the main trigger. But when mid position gets clicked on, this is where my MP3 player is going to show up. Then what do I want to happen next? That's the question. Or how long would I want the MP3 to show up? I would say 5 seconds, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to set it to 3 seconds. And that's on end delay. So basically this movement, this mid position movement, how long will it take to end? 3000 milliseconds. And we say, hey, what do we want it to do after that? So next move, we're going to set that to go back to the start position. But now already we reduced this whole animation to 1 click, and that's turning on mid position. Boom. Turns on, gonna go 1, 2, 3, and then go back to the start position on its own, right? So technically this command, if we weren't doing the highlight, this command would have been done with 1 single click, aka 1 single StreamerBot action with the trigger of your choice. Okay, now let's go back to the highlight and its filters. And we're basically gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna create the animation for now. We have our position mid and our position start. That's our position start. And if we click mid, we're gonna have the highlight. And what we did was to set the end delay to 3000, just like the other one. And also the next move to be going back to the position start, right? But now if I click position mid, it'll go to the middle position, wait 3 seconds, and then go back on its own. Easy stuff so far. All right, let's close this. Go back to the group's effects, filters, and now we're gonna add something called a move action. And that's basically gonna allow us to link up everything, basically. So this is gonna tell us to trigger that move mid position from the other group while we're on the iPod filter. It's I don't even know how to explain this, but basically you can control filters from any source, any scene, any group, from any filter. So here on action, what I'm gonna pick is filter enable. And now I can pick the source. And I believe my source is called delete highlight. There we go, delete MP3 highlight. The filter that I want to enable is position mid. Okay, now to simultaneously trigger it at the same time as our mid position for the 3D stuff, we just need to scroll down and go to simultaneous move action. And that's all it is. So now if I click on mid position here, it will also trigger mid position on the highlight, which means that we should have a complete MP3 with highlight moving at the same time. Let's test it. 3, 2, 1. Oh my God, I can't believe it works. I can't believe it works. What the hell? Oh, that actually looks so good. What the hell? What? I did that. Oh my. Now hold on, I need to put my face on this. Hi, I'm Get Level, and I just created this entirely in OBS Studio. I think that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I think that's pretty cool. So of course, I'm using the 3D panel to create that fake iPod. And that reflection that you're seeing is actually just a color source. That's all it is. It's being animated to go across while it's rotating at the same speed. And that's it. It creates that fake reflection. In fact, if I turn off the 3D panel here, this is what you have. This was created entirely in OBS Studio. You can see that the circle, for example, is just a color source. If I want to change the color, I can do that. If I want to change the color of the iPod, but also if I want my chat to change those, right? If I want to let my chat do all of that stuff, I can do that too. For the highlight, the whole thing is an advanced mask, okay? It covers, it's a little transparent. And then another advanced mask that has just a wide cutout. And then I'm just moving on the x-axis. That's all it is. That's all it is. Animated with the move plugin, of course. But yeah, it's truly that simple. Combining a little bit of knowledge that you've probably seen from my videos. I don't even know what else to say. But yeah, you can create a fake 3D effect with highlight, with reflection inside of OBS Studio. All right, my YouTube peeps, I think that's enough. I'm still not feeling super well. So what you can do for me is subscribe, like the video, share it with your streamer friends to show them what's possible. The possibilities are endless. So what I'm showing here is just a fraction of what is actually possible. It's just what I can come up with in less than an hour in order to make a video, while also telling you how to do it, right? If I were to spend a bunch of time, I can make something 1,000 times more complicated. For example, I could use the Shadertastic plugin to distort that highlight to make it look as if it was going across like actual 3D. Maybe I'll do that next. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Get Level out.